Hey, Dr. Huntington here. In this video, I want to talk to you about stress and how it relates to your health and what you can do about it to reduce stress and improve your health. So we're going to talk a bit about cortisol, which is a hormone that your body produces when you perceive that there is a dangerous situation in your environment. Now, historically, this is a very pro-survival mechanism. This is a good thing that happens. You know, historically, stressors that triggered this mechanism tended to be possibly life-threatening, at least very dangerous, and tended to be of a short duration. So this cycle would turn on, do its job, and then turn off. Unfortunately, with modern living, I mean, there's a lot of conveniences, a lot of wonderful things about modern living, but what tends to happen is the stressors are different. And in some cases, this cycle gets turned on, and rather than being a short duration, can be stretched out over many hours, many days, many weeks, months, maybe years. And that's where this cycle has turned from a very pro-survival, helpful cycle to a more damaging cycle that we need to know how to manage. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So cortisol is the main hormone involved in this cycle. So when you perceive a threat in your environment or you're under stress, your body, when the cycle is triggered, it's going to tend to release cortisol. And cortisol does a number of things. Something it does in terms of modulating your body to be ready for that fight or flight response, which is a term often used for this cycle, is it will tune down your digestive system. In other words, your body's saying, okay, we don't need to focus energy on digesting food, we've got a stressful situation to handle. Well, if you've got that going on over long periods of time, you can imagine how that would affect your health if your digestive system isn't functioning the way that it otherwise would. The same thing with your reproductive system. You know, your body says, okay, we don't need to be worried about reproducing right now, we're under stress, right? So that gets tuned down. In addition to that, you also have a situation where your blood sugar is going to rise. And if you think about it, it makes sense, right? Your body knows it's got a situation to handle, and therefore your body basically takes sugar or glucose from the short-term storage and releases it into the bloodstream for the purpose of fueling the body with energy, particularly the muscles. So it makes sense. Again, short-term stress, need energy to be able to overcome the stressor. But what happens is if this is happening long-term, you've now got a situation where you've got sugar being dumped into the blood for the purposes of helping you get through this stressful situation, which now, unfortunately, may be taking place over weeks, months, years, right? So you've got high blood sugar, which of course is going to lead to it triggering insulin. And if you've watched any of my earlier videos, you know that long-term high insulin levels is not healthy. Of course, the insulin is pushing the sugar from the blood into the cells for fuel, and that's what's supposed to happen, but you don't want insulin elevated for long periods of time. There's all kinds of health problems associated with long-term high insulin levels. We want to avoid this, and the only way to do it is to avoid this. And if we want to avoid this, you can't have high cortisol levels. Okay? So now we're talking about high insulin levels. Now what happens is the cells of your body, because they're being in the presence of insulin so much, can become sort of resistant to the insulin. They stop paying attention to it so much. And so in response, your body pumps out more of it because it needs to get the sugar out of the blood and into the cells. This creates a situation called insulin resistance, right? More insulin, the cells stop paying attention, more insulin, and it's a cycle that keeps getting worse. Now, as your cells become insulin resistant, the sugar, which is supposed to be going from your blood into the cells for fuel, is now not going in, right? Because the cell is not opening up because it's not paying attention to the insulin. Now, that creates a situation where you've got a cell which is hungry. So you can see here, this cycle basically is high levels of insulin over a long period of time is going to cause insulin resistance, which means that your cells aren't going to be getting the fuel the sugar from the blood the way they're supposed to. They're going to be hungry. That creates a situation that we could term metabolic stress, right? The cells are hungry, they're not getting fed, and that stress, which again, as we talked about in the beginning, causes cortisol release. So there is this vicious cycle. And so the only way to break this cycle, or the best way to break it, is to address the stress so we can stop the release of cortisol, right? Okay, so here's the crux of what we're looking at today. We know that being under long-term stress is damaging. You now know what's happening inside the body, and we know we need to break that cycle. So let's talk about a few things you can do. I've got some short-term solutions here and some long-term solutions. Short-term solutions, one of the best things you could possibly do, because it's so easy to do, right, is to go outside and take a walk. You know, you're in a stressful situation at home, at work, you know, take the first opportunity you can and just go out, take a walk, look around at things. Don't be looking at your phone or, you know, things that are real close up to you. Just look around, look far down the street, look at the cars, look at the trees, whatever it is you see outside, you know, just look and just walk until you feel better. That's one of the best stress releasers that there are out there that can help break this cycle on a short-term basis. Another one is to breathe, deep breaths. You know, you'll probably notice when you feel under stress, the breaths that you take often shorten. And if you take deeper breaths, that of course can help to reduce stress and break this cycle. Another one is make a list. You know, make a list of the things that are really important. I use this one pretty often because I find that I've got so many things I feel I need to do. It gets a little bit overwhelming some days. But when I make a list of what actually needs to get done, as opposed to things that maybe aren't so important, or maybe would be nice to be done, but you know, really don't have to be, or don't have to be done today, it allows me to focus on the things that need to be done, and sometimes that's more confrontable than just random thoughts, you know, of what I'd like to have done. So making lists can help. Another one is just getting some done. So after you have your list, look at your list and find something that's confrontable. What can you actually just do right now and get done? You know, it feels good to get it done, and so you know, doing that can help you you know, relax. Another one, which is interesting, and I think I understand the mechanism here, at least why it helps sometimes, is helping somebody else. It's interesting, but for whatever reason, putting your attention on a problem somebody else has can often, you know, help you to relax. And so that's a good one. You know, it can be something that takes a short amount of time, a long amount of time. It doesn't matter. You know, it can take a couple of minutes to help somebody else with something they're having trouble with, and that can help, you know, can help break this cycle. And then I've got two things listed up here that are more long-term. Eat well. You know, eating a healthy diet, low sugar diet, you know, can help to break this cycle. Of course, you could start eating well right away and probably feel better. But in terms of the long-term health benefits of eating well, the longer you do it, you know, the less you'll feel stressed, the less your body will be stressed by toxins, poor food choices, sugar. Another one I have listed up here is create. And this is an interesting one. You know, you can imagine, or at least I can imagine, you know, how it could seem this wouldn't work. You know, you feel stressed, you have things to do. Why would you go create something else? But one of the things I found in my own personal life and in helping others, family members and such, is that, you know, sometimes a lot of worry can actually show up when there isn't actually a lot to get done, you know, and a person can start to worry about things which, you know, because they just need something to do. As strange as that sounds, you know, going in and actually creating something that is meaningful to you can often reduce stress. And I think it can do that because, you know, some people maybe need more to do or need something meaningful to do. And other people just need an outlet, you know, a creative outlet to be able to do the things they really want to do, and it helps them, you know, better cope with the things that maybe they have to get done in life. But nonetheless, the idea here is to find those things that help you to break this stress cycle, you know, reduce the amount of cortisol being pumped out, lower the blood sugar, lower the insulin levels, so that you can create the health, you know, in the future that you'd really like to have. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.